compensation is one of the things where it might not make someone stay, but it will certainly make them leave if you don't get it right. So here's some things to kind of not do, or ways to drive people away. If your compensation decisions, if your staff don't understand how their performance is impacting their compensation or their bonus, or how you make your compensation decisions, there's a deep level of insecurity they're going to have. And sort of, I have this philosophy, an aversion to a blank sheet of paper. I don't like blanks. And my goal is to fill in those blanks as much as possible, because if I'm not filling them in, their staff are going to be filling in them in on their own, and their answers are generally going to be inaccurate. And you're not going to, it just makes everybody miserable. So, where does compensation come from for our staff? It's a function of 4 factors. It's going to be the type of degree they have, civil engineer, mechanical engineer, architect, interior designer, how many years of experience they have, where they're practicing, where's their office, and then the real important, and the more years a staff has, that performance factor becomes more and more significant. So how are they performing compared to their peers in the industry, not just their peers within the firm. So that's a huge element. For people right out of college, pretty much the type of degree is going to be the primary factor. Once they've got 3 or 4 years of experience, performance becomes more significant. What I do is once a year, I do 3 to 4 education sessions with the firm each year. And the one right around the time we're starting salary reviews is I do a presentation on how we come up with our salaries, fill in these blanks for them. What metrics are we using and how are we looking at them? When it comes to management salaries, you pretty much can take out the type of degree and experience level, and you keep your office location and you keep their performance, but you add what their role in the firm is, right? So what are they doing? Are they, in operations? Are they technical? Are they business development? Are they, HR, administrative? How are they? What their role in the firm is, and then the size of the firm. When you look at management salaries, you'll see that the size of the firm is really a factor in the salary range. So what are some common errors that we see with compensation strategy? One thing I think can get you in a lot of trouble is relying on position descriptions to set salaries. If you ever read the position descriptions in any of the surveys or the AIA engineering, the difference between an architect 1 and an architect 2 is not very, if you're reading the description, the main thing is the number of years. So relying on a position description is going to just sort of kind of set you up for some failure. Looking at regional survey data, and we'll get into this and I'll show some more info on it a little later, but you can have a region. I'm in the South, and that includes Dallas, Houston, New Orleans, Birmingham, Shreveport, Jackson, Mississippi. The salaries in those different cities are vastly different. Using a blended regional number for setting salaries is going to cause a lot of issues, set you up for failure. Consumer price index or inflation adjustments, using that. When I first started with EDR, that was a factor. Everybody will know what's the inflation adjustment this year, and I'm like, well, we can talk about the inflation adjustment, but that's not how we should be setting our salaries. That data, it doesn't reflect different cities. It doesn't reflect where your salary should be. It's a piece of information we use. I use it every year, but that isn't how we set our salaries. And I think the most important is not adequately differentiating your performance levels. I said, in the very beginning of a career, you don't know what their performance level is going to be, so everybody can start out at a very similar salary. But as staff progress, that performance factor should be not only a big piece of it, but it should be explained and it should be understood. So the other, what's your compensation model? What should it look like? You need to be competitive, and your total compensation needs to be understood compared to other people in your city doing the same thing, and in your industry and nationally. So how do you know you're competitive? Obviously this is a PSMJ seminar, so one of the key set of metrics, and it's how I got to be doing these, because when I first came into this industry, that was one of the things: where do I get the information we need to make the right decisions? And PSMJ provides some of these wonderful tools. And what I really liked about them, because I am an accountant, is they're free. If I fill out the survey, I get the tools. So I thought that was really great. So there's 3 benchmarking tools that PSMJ will provide to you if you complete the surveys. I'm going to go into them real quick. I'm not going to go into too much details. Normally when I do a compensation class, it's a 5-hour class that I do. So I'm trying to condense a whole lot of this information into one. So I'm just going to kind of show you this benchmarking tool. I want you to see it. Hopefully a lot of you already do the surveys, but let's just go take a look at them real quick. The benchmarking tool you get after you complete the survey comes with this really great set of tools. The graphics are really useful because it highlights how your firm is performing compared to other firms, and you can change your peer group. I like looking at the national, everybody in total, and I'll kind of later on you'll understand a little bit more of why I think that's the main set of data that I look at. I also will look at firm by firm size. But you get this tool, and it has these 4 different tabs. You can see compensation for all these positions by years of experience. It gives you the 25th percentile, the median, and the 75th, and it tells you where your firm is. What's even better is this nice graphical presentation that gets updated based on the peer group you selected. And then it'll give you your key benchmarks, and it'll tell you where you are, whether you're higher, lower, much higher, much lower. So it's a pretty nice tool. And like I said, you get this just by completing the survey. The management compensation tool sort of works the same way. You pick your peer group and you get your graphs and trends. It's got total compensation, but you can also see when you put in your data, you'll get some information on bonuses and how that factors in. So pretty useful little tools. When you get into this, you also get the bonus and benefits survey. This survey is only done every 2 years, but this year it's going to be a very robust survey. We've added a whole bunch of questions related to COVID, work from home, work from anywhere, furloughs, how people are handling paying for the technology, bunch of questions like that. It's a pretty nice set of data sets. You get similar benchmarks, all benchmarks, paid holidays, how bonuses are calculated, all of your vacation, pay time off, which holidays, all that kind of information is in this bonus and benefit plan survey. It helps you stay competitive. I do recommend using more than one set of survey data. As an architecture firm, I will use the PSMJ data, I look at the AIA data, and then I look at design intelligence, because we're a design first firm. I find that is a really useful data set for us because it's firms who are most similar to us. And I think that's real important when you're comparing yourself to metrics from these surveys. Zweig and Dietrich or someone, I think I spelled Dietrich right. If I didn't, my apologies. I'm not as familiar with that survey. But find surveys that most align with your business type. And for our staff, I know that our staff is looking at that AIA survey, so that's why it's added. I think the design intelligence gives us a design specific set of survey, and then PSMJ is a much more broad set of data set. So I look at all three of them. At the end of this slide presentation, there's several links to the survey participation, or to participate with the surveys. I'll show you real quick how it's going to come up, assuming it loads a little more quickly than that. There it goes. But didn't take this long last time. Anyway, it's a link. There's links in here to fill out the surveys, and here they go. So the deadline for the first one is in February. So one of the things that you can use to sort of talk about salaries or look at salaries is I tend, because I work for architects, try to present anything I can in a graphical format and use lots and lots of charts. And we've recently been using this chart as a means for communicating with staff. And we'll take a chart like this and say, look, here's the industry top, bottom, middle salary for someone with your years of experience, and we can talk with them, use this as a tool to have a conversation with our staff. We also, and I'll use this when we're talking a graph where I'll put all of our staff salaries on a graph like this, and our leadership team can look at it to see if we have salary equity. Are we paying our top performers? And our top performers should be in that upper quartile. If we said someone's a top performer and their salary's not there, we should have a conversation about it. It also helps us to kind of look at, who's in that lower quartile, and it makes us, kind of holds us accountable for doing what we say. One of the things I think that's most difficult for folks in this industry is we have a lot of really nice people in this industry. And this isn't me just being nice to you guys, but I've worked in a lot of different industries. These are the nicest people I've ever worked with, is architects and engineers. They're very nice, but we also don't like to tell people things that aren't good. And having a tool that kind of holds you to having that conversation, I find something like this very helpful. I'll also use this when we're trying to answer the question about salary equity between gender. I'll make all the women one color and all the men another color. And if the dots don't look right, then we need to start addressing it. It's also a tool I'll use to, I pull as many of the, much of the detail off of it as I can. And when I do that presentation, I'll show it to staff because, we've got staff, particularly with millennials coming up. They have a lot of data and a lot of information at their disposal. And I'm looking to find ways to not just say we have salary equity between genders in the firm, but I want to be able to show it to them. And this was a tool I used with, it populated with the salaries. Again, I take the legend off and I take whatever those numbers on the graph, show them just the 3 bars, and I show where everybody is. So the surveys, there's some benefits, right? I already told you get the 3 free benchmarking tools, yay, free stuff. But you can also get, so it's a benchmarking tool, sort of an overview with key metrics. There's an entire survey report that takes every position for every firm size and looks at, mean, median, and gets it really in depth. It's a pretty robust report. Well, you get a 50% discount on that, and you can win a card, a gift card. So the 3 surveys should be coming out late spring, early summer, and that's when those benefit tools come out. In case you're planning to use them, you get those 3 tools. And here's again the link. This link will take you, there's a financial survey too. I highly recommend using that one. Always interesting to see what the metrics are and what profitability is and how firms are reaching that. So the financial survey goes to the same way.